It was supposed to be a quiet weekend. After months of relentless projects and late-night calls, I finally carved out time to escape with my 16-year-old son, Lucas, to our family cabin by Silver Pine Lake. The plan was simple: fish, grill, and soak in the clean mountain air, far from the city's chaos. Lucas wasn't your average teenager, though. He'd recently completed an advanced self-defense course through the FBI's Youth Outreach Program. I thought it was a bit intense at first, but Lucas insisted, and it turned out he had a knack for martial arts and tactical awareness. Still, to me, he was just my kid, quiet, polite, with a grin that could defuse anyone's frustration. As we wound up the gravel road, the towering pines and the lake's shimmer under the sun brought that familiar sense of peace. But as we turned onto the private lane to the cabin, something felt wrong. Standing by our mailbox, clipboard in hand, was Deborah, known locally as HOA Debbie, president of the Homeowners Association. Her posture was rigid, her expression sour, her eyes narrowing as we slowed down. Lucas shot me a look, picking up on the tension. "Afternoon," I called, forcing a smile. "This cabin's out of compliance," Deborah snapped before I could say more. "Your bushes are overgrown, your mailbox is half an inch too low, and don't get me started on those shutters." "Thanks for the heads up," I replied, keeping my cool. "We're just here for the weekend. We'll tackle the landscaping next time." She stepped closer, her voice sharp. "I'll be watching, and your boy better not wander." "There've been incidents." Lucas raised an eyebrow, but stayed silent. We drove on, gravel crunching, but I couldn't shake the unease. Deborah had always been nosy, but this felt different. Her gaze lingered on Lucas in a way that knotted my stomach. As we unpacked at the cabin, I noticed Lucas scanning the tree line, just like they'd taught him in training. "You okay, champ?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, just got a weird vibe from her." "Same here." That night, we grilled burgers on the porch as the sunset painted the lake in golden hues. For a moment, everything felt normal. But as darkness fell, I spotted a silhouette at the clearing's edge, someone watching. It was Deborah, and in that moment, neither of us knew how far she'd go. The night air at the lake was usually calm, filled with crickets and the soft lap of water against the dock. But tonight, it felt heavy, like the woods were holding their breath. Around midnight, I jolted awake to the faint crunch of gravel. In the moonlight, I saw Lucas slip out of bed, moving to the window like a shadow. "Dad?" he whispered, voice low and steady. "Someone's coming up the path." I joined him. Near the old boathouse, I saw a movement: two large men in dark hoodies creeping toward the cabin. Behind them, unmistakable in the shadows, was Deborah, her white blouse glowing under the moon, clipboard still tucked under her arm. My pulse raced. "Lucas, stay inside," I murmured. He shook his head. "No, Dad. Let them come closer. I've got this." Before I could stop him, he slipped out the back door, vanishing into the darkness. His FBI training had sharpened his instincts beyond what I'd realized. Still, my dad's instincts screamed to pull him back. I watched, heart pounding, as the men neared Lucas' bedroom window, ropes and duct tape in hand. Deborah stood behind them, her face set with determination. Lucas stepped out from behind a pine, his presence calm and sudden. "Looking for something?" he asked, voice steady. One man spun, startled. Lucas moved first, sweeping the man's leg, sending him crashing to the ground. The second lunged, but Lucas sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and twisted it behind his back in a swift, practiced move. The man yelped, dropping the rope. Deborah's eyes widened in disbelief. "Get him!" she shrieked, but the men hesitated, glancing nervously at Lucas. He took a step forward, eyes locked on Deborah. "Go home," he said, voice like stone. "This is your only warning." For a moment, no one moved. Then Deborah's composure cracked. "Fine," she spat, voice trembling with rage. "You'll regret this, both of you." She turned, dragging her accomplices away, muttering curses. Lucas returned to the cabin, barely winded. I pulled him into a tight hug. "You okay?" I asked, still shaken. He nodded, calm returning. "Yeah, Dad, but she's not done." Deep down, I knew he was right. By morning, the woods looked peaceful, but the air buzzed with leftover tension. I brewed coffee on the porch while Lucas sat beside me, eyes sweeping the tree line, always alert. As I sipped, the crunch of tires made us both look up. Deborah was back, now in daylight, in full performance mode. Behind her trailed 3 neighbors and a deputy sheriff, Officer Bennett. Her face was a mask of righteous anger. "There," she barked, pointing at Lucas. "That's him attacked us last night. He's dangerous." Bennett raised an eyebrow. "Morning, sir," he said to me politely. "Mind if we talk?" "Of course," I replied, heart sinking but staying calm. Deborah jumped in, voice quivering with fake fear. "That boy tried to kill my friends. We barely escaped. He's a violent thug." Lucas stood quietly, hands relaxed, eyes locked on Bennett, calm and steady. Bennett looked at him, then at me. "Any truth to this?" Before I could answer, Lucas spoke. "Deputy, I have security footage. It shows them sneaking around our cabin with ropes and duct tape." Deborah's face twitched. "That's nonsense." "Lies." I grabbed Lucas' phone and handed it to Bennett. We watched the grainy but clear footage. Deborah and her men creeping through the clearing, peering into windows, ropes and tape in hand. Bennett's jaw tightened. "Deborah," he said slowly, "you didn't mention that part." Her face flushed. "I was protecting the neighborhood." Bennett shook his head. "By trespassing with ropes." He turned to Lucas. "Son, you did nothing wrong. Thanks for staying calm." Deborah's act faltered, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. "You don't understand. That boy's dangerous. We have to get rid of him before he hurts someone." Bennett ignored her. "Ma'am, you and your friends need to come with me and answer some questions." As the deputy led her away, Deborah glared at Lucas. "This isn't over," she spat, venom dripping. When the patrol car's gravel dust settled, I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Lucas looked at me, still composed. "Dad, she meant it. She'll try again." I nodded, worry heavy in my chest. "I know, son." For the next 2 days, we tried to keep things normal, grilling on the porch, fishing by the lake, playing cards by lantern light. But every laugh carried tension, a silent pact to stay vigilant. On the 3rd night, Lucas woke me with a hand on my shoulder. "Dad," he whispered, firm but calm, "someone's at the dock." I peered through the window. There, in the moon's pale light, were the same 2 men, with Deborah behind them, arms crossed, eyes cold. This time, they weren't just creeping. One carried a large canvas bag, the other gripped duct tape tightly, moving with purpose. Lucas glanced at me, jaw set. "Stay inside, Dad." "Lucas," I started, but he was already out the back door, vanishing into the shadows like he'd done this 100 times. Down at the dock, Deborah hissed orders. "Grab him fast," she urged, voice trembling with frantic energy. "We'll take him to the old storage shed. No one will find him till morning." Lucas stepped from behind a pine, voice steady. "Looking for me?" The first man lunged, swinging the duct tape like a club. Lucas ducked, twisted, and landed a clean palm strike to the man's chest, knocking him back onto the dock's planks. The second dropped the bag and charged. Lucas sidestepped, used the man's momentum to send him crashing into the dock's rail with a crack that echoed over the water. Deborah backed away, eyes wide. "What are you?" she rasped, panic overtaking her fury. Lucas stood firm, breathing steady. "Go home, Deborah," he said quietly, "or this ends worse for you." For a moment, she hesitated. Then her rage boiled over. "You ruined everything," she screamed, lunging with the canvas bag. Lucas blocked her easily, stepping aside as she stumbled. He caught her wrist, twisting gently until she dropped the bag. Tears of rage and frustration welled in her eyes. "This isn't over," she spat, voice thick with hate. Lucas didn't answer, just stood calm and unshaken. I ran to the dock, breathless. "Lucas, it's okay," he murmured, eyes clear. But as Deborah fled into the darkness, I knew he was right, it wasn't over yet. The morning after the dock incident, the air felt heavy, electric. The lake shimmered under the sunrise, but neither Lucas nor I could shake the sense of a final showdown looming. Lucas packed his bag with first aid supplies, a flashlight, and a small toolkit, his movements precise, habits from his training. "Dad," he said softly, "she'll come back, and next time, she'll come alone." Desperate, I nodded, fighting the urge to tell him to let it go, to leave. But I knew running wouldn't stop someone like Deborah. By late afternoon, the woods were too quiet, even the birds avoiding the clearing. Lucas spotted her first, Deborah, alone by the tree line, hands hidden in her cardigan, eyes stripped of any pretense. What remained was raw obsession. She stepped forward. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You think a punk kid can humiliate me? Go home, Deborah," Lucas said, voice steady as stone. Her lips twisted into a grim smile. "No, this is my neighborhood, and I decide who stays." She lunged, pulling a small stun gun from her pocket, blue sparks crackling. Before I could shout, Lucas moved, ducking sideways, her swing missing by inches. In one fluid motion, he stepped behind her, caught her wrist, and twisted gently until the stun gun hit the dirt. She screamed, swinging wildly with her free hand, but Lucas pivoted, locking her arms behind her back. "Stop," he commanded, voice low but absolute. For a moment, she froze, chest heaving, rage crashing into fear. "This isn't your neighborhood anymore," Lucas whispered, calm but unyielding. I stepped closer, breathing hard. "It's over, Deborah," I said quietly. She looked at me, eyes wild. "No, you can't do this to me." But her voice cracked, and the fight drained from her. Lucas released her, and she slumped to her knees, sobbing, hands trembling. Sirens sounded in the distance. Someone must have called the sheriff after spotting the struggle. Deputy Bennett arrived minutes later. Seeing the stun gun and Deborah on the ground, he didn't ask many questions. He led her away gently, her head bowed, her muttering fading into silence. As the patrol car vanished into the trees, Lucas exhaled. "Think that's the last of it?" he asked. I smiled, pride and relief mixing. "Yes, son. You handled it better than most grown men could." He shrugged, hiding a grin. "Guess that training paid off." We stood together, the lake quiet again, the threat gone. For the first time in days, I believed it might truly be over. If you enjoyed this wild HOA Debbie story and want more true cabin drama, family victories, or neighborhood showdowns, hit like and subscribe. It helps us share more stories like this. Thanks for reading.